Welcome to the Long-Term Care Chronicles podcast. For coming on to the Long-Term Care Chronicles to talk about love is more contagious than COVID. And before we start, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and the brand?
Hi, and Wendy, thank you very much for having me on. And you'll notice that I am trying not to laugh, and your audience is not going to get that. And it's because Wendy and I have been talking for the last 20 minutes, and it's been a really good time. So you guys are joining us halfway through.
Yes.
So my name is Ken Foster. I am from Kingston, Ontario. I have a company called loveovercovid.com. We have created a line of bags and t-shirts, and the t-shirts say on the bottom of them, love is more contagious than COVID. And if they'd like to see them, the website is loveovercovid.com. The bags are dramatically different from the actual t-shirts because my wife thought I should have some contrast. And so it says love over COVID, and they come in two sizes. The products that we actually sell, the funds go to supporting food banks wherever that product was sold. So hang on a second. So go to supporting food banks. And at the exact same time, I've partnered up with a number of different people. And we actually use the shirts to achieve different objectives. In Kingston, as an example, I partnered up with 2RN 1MD podcast, and that's two nurses and a doctor. And they started taking my shirts to different vaccination sites in order to get the people on the front lines to wear them. It was to raise money for food banks, and at the exact same time, make a really miserable job a little more lighter, a little brighter. And that's exactly that, and that's who I am, and that's what I'm doing at the moment.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that, Ken. And then can you just talk about the messaging? Why during COVID that you came up with this message?
Well, I was looking at it, and you watch the news for 30 minutes and it's depressing, right? Like you get halfway through and you don't know if you can go on through the rest of the news. And I thought to myself, well, if a virus can sweep the world in a year, why can't love, right? Why can't love? Because the virus, it doesn't recognize race, gender. It doesn't recognize political parties. It doesn't care which way you vote, right? And one of the things that's similar to that is love. Love doesn't care about those things either. Love overcomes all of the barriers between us to create commonality. And I thought, well, how can I express that? What can I do? And so I created Love is More Contagious Than COVID. And so I had a good line. And I'm a graphic designer, so I decided, well, let's put some imagery together around that. And the image actually comes from, the inspiration comes from 6 of my closest friends. Nice. And the way that we used to interact with one another and now couldn't, right? Because of the virus. And I wanted to represent that because it represented something positive. So Rick, Sandra, Chris, Donna, Lee, hi. Okay, just saying hi. You're on the shirt. And so I wanted to produce the shirt so that we were reminded of good times and that there are silver linings, right? Even inside of the virus. And I think some of those silver linings are the way that we interact with one another, right? The virus really we've seen a lot of terrible stuff come out of the virus. We've seen a lot of people reveal who they really are. By the way, some people react to crisis in a different way. Like there's one group of people who see the virus or the crisis, and what happens is one hand closes into a fist and the other hand starts to point. And I didn't want to have any part of that. And I thought maybe there's a way that I can create something that bridges the gap so that we can acknowledge the commonality between us and begin having discussions, right? That was my entire idea.
Perfect. No, that's fantastic because that's a great slogan to be using and a good mantra, especially during this time that we're in the pandemic, to give people some hope. And how is it being received?
Really well. I don't know if you know this, I do all my own deliveries, the ones but I don't have to mail out. And when I
Yes.
do drop them off and we stay 6 feet apart, people are lovely. People are lovely. And we like, there's a natural smile, right? I see them, they see me, right? It's the love guy. And I go, yeah, it's the love guy. Here you go. And conversations begin. We begin discussing, and how are you doing? And it is amazing how brutally honest some people are. And I love those conversations, right?
Yes.
I'm so, I think all of us are a little tired of the glib responses. How are you? I'm great. Have a good day. Right. And so when I'm asking people, I'm having a really rough time. And it's like, you stop and you want to engage. Well, what's going on? And you begin to have a conversation. And during those conversations, we find commonality. We find not sympathy, but we find empathy. Right.
Exactly.
And when we do that, when we begin having those conversations, we look to support one another. This virus is not just hard on the body, it's hard on the mind, right? It's everybody who's, alone, right? There are lots of single people who are really alone. And at the exact same time, there's a lot of
Yeah.
families who are together who are going, I can't wait for this virus to end, right? Like, I need some space. But the mental impact, or the impact it has had on people in their mental health, is just, you can't understate it. And you can really see it when you're engaging, when I am 6 feet away dropping off bags and shirts, and people want to take the time to talk. And my wife will say, what took so long? And I had an amazing conversation about this woman. And we start talking, and,
Yeah.
we quickly, what's amazing is we quickly move outside the conversations about the virus to hobbies, interests.
Yes.
What did you do before? And so that's all forgotten. And the humanity comes back into the conversation, right? That's what love is, right?
Yeah.
It's humanity and the interaction, which is just, and for me, it's a wonderful experience. And how lucky I am, one, that people order my product, but two, that they actually include me in some, they're not being shy, they're not being reserved, they're
Yes.
actually talking to me in a way that you didn't get before, right? It was just, I'm great, I'm great, I'm great, I'm great. And off they would go. And now when they're saying, not so good, and we begin having conversations, and that's just a bonus for me. It's just a real
Yeah.
bonus.
I can imagine, because the pandemic has changed the way that we interact with people now. So the fact that you're saying that you're getting such a response when you drop off, it is fantastic. And you mentioned before about your, you mentioned before about the donations that from the proceeds of your t-shirts and bags.
Yes.
What, I guess, agencies that you've worked with in terms of donating to?
Right now, I'm going to say that I'm a very local business. I really am. So it's primarily in Kingston, and we work with the local food bank, right? We're not in it for glory. We're not in it for
Yes.
notoriety, right?
Yeah.
Just fund the money over and keep moving forward. The food bank in this town is doing an amazing job. And
Yeah.
Kingston, I don't know if you know much about my town. These people are generous. They are inclusive. They care about their fellow citizens, their neighbors, as well as the people on the other side of town, which is just wonderful to
Yeah.
see. Kingston has really embraced the concept and run with it. Doctors, like I said, Dr. Joy Hatley, Nurse Dev Lefebvre, and Nurse Jen Waite really just bought in a very big way and just said, we love this, no pun intended, right? But we love this. How can we get this message out to more people? Because and Wendy, don't get me wrong, man. I know
Yeah.
it's just a t-shirt, okay? I know that, right? But at the exact same time, right? It's just a little bit of fun, a little bit of a silver lining. That's what it
Eh,
is.
No, that's great, because the fact that you're giving back as much as you're giving back as well, and that's fantastic to be doing. And then you mentioned as well the medical community that see this. Are they using this for any type of, when people get the vaccine, they're giving this out as well, or how
That's a
is
great
that?
idea, by the way. That is a great idea. Hang on a second. I'm about to steal it. Hang on.
Okay.
Yeah. And by tomorrow, when you see it on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
And I'm saying, and I came up with this, right? Just let you know. Okay. No, we're not doing that. But what we are doing is putting the frontline workers in the shirt.
Perfect.
What I have found though is sales. Every time we have like an vaccination site center that wears them, our sales go up. They really do. But one of the things that made my sales take off was Dr. Kieran Moore in town wore our shirt while he was getting vaccinated. Now, I didn't know that, right?
Mhm.
And so, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours later, the orders started just flying in. Right? And so I was very quick to
Yeah.
point out to my wife, see, my marketing does work. You don't know anything, right? And so about an hour and a half later, I found out it was because Kieran Ward wore my shirt and nothing with regards to what I had been doing at all, right? I didn't tell her that till much later on during the day, though.
Yeah.
Right? I enjoyed it for a couple hours. Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
That's great. And that I think we need more of that because we do need some fun and we do need some, I guess, a break from this heavy material that we're all inundated with, right? And so will you be expanding your line anytime soon with other things?
Well, interestingly enough, and this wasn't planned. Okay, this wasn't planned. All right, I'm thinking about doing a baseball cap and a bucket hat. I'm thinking about it, right? Putting my figures across and putting the thing on the back because it's summer, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I could use a hat. So I thought, why don't I design my own? So that's
Yeah.
actually in the works right now.
Perfect. That's great to hear. And is there anything else that you wanted to say about your brand?
Well, not so much my brand, right?
Mhm.
Which is fabulous, by the way. But what I did want to say was thank you to everybody because you don't do this stuff alone, right? You have a great idea. And it's amazing the people that come along out of nowhere and help, right? I would still be selling my shirts onesie twosies and my bags onesie twosies, and my wife would be teasing me mercilessly, and that's true. But if it wasn't for my friends who showed up to help, if it wasn't for my wife who supported me, if it wasn't for the doctors and nurses who said, this is a really good idea, thank you for
Yeah.
doing it. And then not just adding words to the equation, but action as well, right? A
Yeah.
lot of people bring positivity, but they also bring action. And that's one of the things I found. It's amazing, and I've been told that I am exceptionally positive, right? I'm a very positive person, which is true most of the time. But positivity is nothing without action. You actually have
Yeah.
to do something with it. Sitting downstairs, watching Netflix, hoping you win the lottery, right? In a good mood and being positive about it is not going to make it happen. We can all make fractional differences. We all can, right? Whether that is volunteering somewhere, whether that's checking in on neighbors, whether that's calling family members, it's incumbent upon all of us to do something.
Yeah.
And I was just lucky enough that I had people come to my aid, right? And say, hey, Ken, love your idea. How can we help? So they brought positivity and they brought action. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you would not have ever heard of me ever at all if it wasn't for everybody else. So you know what? I thank them all, and I probably miss some, like my mom who tells me I'm the smartest. My mom, right? But I probably did miss some, but thank you to everybody who has helped. And they've been amazing. And the community has been amazing. Brian Patterson, the mayor, you owe me a phone call. Don't forget, Brian. Okay. But yeah, the people in Kingston are just wonderful. And if it wasn't for them, it wouldn't be successful. And people like you too,
Yeah.
who reached out. And your audience doesn't know this, but we've had two amazing conversations, right? And I have enjoyed your perspective. I've enjoyed listening to your episodes, by the way. Now, one of the things I noticed was how articulate all your other guests were. And now, by comparison, everyone else of you, they'll know too, right? But you produce a great show that I think everybody should be listening to. It's really good.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Ken. And I do love what you're doing because we need this, especially during this third wave that we are here in Ontario. We definitely do need some positivity, and we do need love to be spread a lot more than the way that it is. And I'll make sure that your website is in the show notes. And
Thanks.
all of your different social media contacts are available as to how people can get in touch with you. And again, I want to thank you so much for coming on, talking about this. This
Thank
has been
you.
really great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And have a great day.
Yes.